The Democrat Party's accusation that President Trump is separating families at the border is laughable at best. Democrats have never been concerned about children being left alone or keeping families intact. I can think of no bigger example than separating children from families as abortion. 60 million times since Roe v. Wade, babies were never given the chance to greet their mothers at birth. They were permanently separated from their families as their bodies were discarded as medical waste. There were no ceremonies. There were no protests. There was no caterwauling by the media or massive coverage. What about social welfare programs that require the father to be out of the home? What about the tenets of the war on policy, which incidentally has not caused a dent in it? Poverty is still at the same levels as it was in the 1960s. But ADC, remember ADC, Aid for Dependent Children? It meant that mothers in fatherless homes would get more government aid the more children they have. Agents would visit mothers' homes to ensure there were no men's shoes under the bed, literally. What about the separation of children and families caused by inner-city violence? I can think of no greater separation of children and their families than a mother laying flowers at the chalk body outline of a son in Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, Detroit, or other cities run and ruined by Democrats for decades. What about the 20,000 U.S. kids separated from their parents in jail? Do you think about that? There's no concern when parents commit a crime and their kids put in foster care. Crossing the border illegally is a crime in this country. It endangers American citizens. It threatens our sovereignty. Most of the children currently in custody for crossing the border were sent by their parents, guys. The original sin of separating children from their families was done by the parents themselves. As my good friend Chris Plant likes to say on his show, if it weren't for double standards, Democrats would have no standards at all.